I don't know anywhere near enough of what I want to know. I haven't helped anywhere near enough people that I want to help. And it's never going to be enough. Maybe I'm wrong. And why I think that's important for this 30 to 50-year-old demographic is I think a lot of us get beaten down once we get into our 20s by whatever we are in life. And some of us are winning, some of us are not. Probably a lot of us feel like we're not, even if you are. And we have a hard time recognizing when we're winning. We see a lot of people in there who are pretending sometimes even that they're winning. And I think that's what we want to figure out.
It's the millennial mask. We put this mask on to let everybody know things are okay because we're stuck in between what our parents told us and what we see Gen Z and Gen Alpha doing and being wildly successful. I'm fucking guilty of it. But the truth is, if you're someone that's independent, yet wants to be a part of something surrounded by like-minded individuals looking to get better, then the Beyond Coaching community is a place for you. Now, what's that entail? It entails a lot. And it starts with actually creating a place that people want to come to. We're back. My name is Kevin. I'm here with Chris Olson Fitness. And this is the Beyond Coaching Podcast. So we're just rolling, getting started and having some fun with this podcast today. And in the next couple of episodes, we want to break down little by little what it is we're doing. And today we want to talk about the Beyond Coaching community, which is launching this November 2024. Why are we starting a community, Chris? We started a community with Hidden Summit. It grew, and there's a lot of ups and downs to communities. But why are we starting here? What do you want to share about your take on this new community?
My fake answer that I'll give first is I was told early on in life that I'm a masochist. No, but no, we want to help as many people as possible. That's one of the first things Kevin and I connected on in 2018, maybe the very beginning of 2019 when we first started talking in an airport. And, we met at an event for people who want to help more people. And we already knew we were in a room of like-minded people. And that passion has grown through our experience running CrossFit gyms together and the impact we were able to have with people and some challenges and different things that we did there with onboarding. And, especially I think during COVID when this whole process was birthed with us, I mean, I don't want to say we were the first people to jump online and really start talking. I'm sure plenty of people did. But Kevin and I pretty much within the first week or maybe 2 weeks, we got right into a Facebook group. We try to get as many people from our gyms as possible into this group so that we could keep them engaged and make sure that they stay fit, right? And it grew well beyond just talking about staying fit. And that's where we kind of developed this concept for Hidden Summit, where we developed just the idea of, again, helping more people. And that's been the biggest opportunity that I think we've had through this online community.
Yeah, for sure. I think helping more people started when we were at the gyms and, being present in the classes, us playing on sports teams when we were younger, being leaders, bringing people together, different projects that we had, run along the way. And I think fitness is just an easy way to bring people together via community. And we saw that during the pandemic when we were forced to not be at the gyms and forced to be online. And the reason why we wanted to bring people together back then was because we had 5 different locations and we had 5 different groups of people going to 5 different gyms who needed a place to go. And at first it was small. I think the first talk we ever did, we just talked to ourselves.
Yeah, I don't think maybe we might have had 1 or 2
I think we need to go digging into the archives if you still have access and pull that up. That's our first podcast episode ever talking about protein.
Yeah.
Seriously, but it grew to the point where, we had calls when we were hosting over 500 people at one point. And that still blows my mind. For some of you out there listening, maybe that's not a big number, but for me, that's fucking cool. 500 people came to listen to what we had to say so we could help you today. Cool. If 10 people walked away with some good information and used it, all the better for those 10 people. The downside to some of the groups is I feel like people just got stuck, thinking they needed to be on a Zoom call or needed to be in a Facebook group to see results. And we're at a point where those days are further and further away. And I want people to be out in the world applying this shit, coming to the groups when they need a question answered, when they want to participate in something. And that's my focus going into this. And our theme with Beyond Coaching is to help you make more time for the shit in your life that matters most. And like, that's not being on a Zoom call a lot, most of the time. And that's what I want to bring to the people, right? So when we talk about helping as many people as possible, yes, I believe we have the ability and the network to help every single person. However, I'm getting older. Chris is still super young, handsome, unavailable. But the idea is like, we're all going to age, but that doesn't mean we need to feel old. And when we have adult responsibilities, that seems to oftentimes in the conversations I've had with people take the responsibilities and all of the open loops we have in our life take precedence over taking care of ourselves. So we want to create this group so you have a place to go where it's at bare minimum, a reminder that you have the capacity to put yourself first. And by putting yourself first, all of the other areas of your life that are stressing you out won't seem to be as stressful. What are your thoughts on, helping 30 to 50-year-olds help themselves today?
Yeah. And as I'm going to veer for 1 second, still tie it in. And, what you just made me think about was something interesting because of our last group, and maybe something that we veered away from, because our group was a community for a long time and that turned into a coaching community, which was still amazing, right? That's an amazing thing. And we hope to do that here. The thing I think that's different between those two is that I think coaching, there should eventually be an exit plan. And I mean that because that we should be helping our clients get to a point where they don't need us. That doesn't mean that you won't have clients that will work with you following that. That's a great thing. And that might be an accountability thing. It depends on the person. I have a client that I've trained, shout out to Camille, for over 10 years, right? So you could argue that, she probably doesn't need me. She knows a lot. I've taught her almost everything I know, but she still likes working with me. But I've had plenty of clients where we have an exit plan. The difference, I think, between the coaching and community is I think community should be forever. And I say that because if you truly find a community of people that are like-minded and want what you want, and now what you want could change. But I think when you really find that community of people, that tribe, it's not about you having to come there or continuously get value. You should be growing up through that process and maturing to a place where you're coming in there and providing the value, right? And then we had some people that did that in our last group. And that's where things get really cool, because it's not that we don't have more to give. It's that we are helping people become leaders in our community. And that's when things get really cool. That's when we know our group is growing. That's when we know people in the group are growing and their expectations of themselves are changing. And that's why I think it's forever, because I think that's a forever ongoing process. And I think that you and I, we have leaps and bounds that we want to grow. We're nowhere near. I don't know anywhere near enough of what I want to know. I haven't helped anywhere near enough people that I want to help. And it's never going to be enough to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in 60 years or 50 or 40, who knows, I'll change my mind about that statement. But I think that's a huge difference. And why I think that's important for this 30 to 50-year-old demographic is I think a lot of us get beaten down once we get into our 20s by whatever we are in life. And some of us are winning. Some of us are not. Probably a lot of us feel like we're not, even if you are. And we have a hard time recognizing when we're winning. And I know that you know the same thing with that 30 to 50. We see a lot of people in there who are pretending sometimes even that they're winning, and maybe they're not. And I think that's what we want to figure out.
Yeah, dude. Like, it's the millennial mask. And I just made that up. I think it's a great fucking coin that shit. Like, we put this mask on to let everybody know things are okay, because we're stuck in between what our parents told us and what we see Gen Z and Gen Alpha doing and being wildly successful, right? So we put this mask on oftentimes, and I'm fucking guilty of it, to actually like mold into what people want to believe versus actually being honest, truthful, and vulnerable in those moments. And like, yes, the group is a safe space. I told you, we talk about some woo-woo shit, but that's a safe space if you show up and do the work. If you come in just like asking questions and complaining and like saying it's not working out without trying to come to one of us, at least we are here for you to have a conversation and form a plan, then we can't help you. The group is there as a tool to see progress happen over time. And when we look at this, like 30 to 50-year-olds, right, roughly, ages but a number. There's some people that are in their 20s that would fit right in, and people in their 60s that are super tech savvy that would be able to figure out how to get onto the group. I hope you do. But the truth is, if you're someone that's independent, yet wants to be a part of something surrounded by like-minded individuals looking to get better, then the Beyond Coaching community is a place for you. Now, what's that entail? Well, it entails a lot, and we're building it while flying it. I'm not going to lie about that. We have great ideas, but the implementation sometimes doesn't work out when people get involved. But we have the best intentions to give you the information to take action. And it starts with actually creating a place that people want to come to. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to gamify everything. Like when you sign into the group, you are entering yourself into the game. And the more often you come and engage and be a part of the group, the more the points you're going to earn. And the more points you earn, the more access to us you're going to have. And that can mean swag, that can mean coaching, that can mean being invited to hang out with us in person or come to in-person events. All of those things are going to be live, but it just depends on how much do you want to lean into what it is that we have to offer, right? The group is very simple. We're going to create conversation, create community, create forms of education, information to absorb, and then what you do with that and sharing that in the group. And like Chris said, the coolest part about community is when people rise up and then lead within the community based on what they learned. That's how you earn points to move forward. So for me, that's super cool because that didn't exist on Facebook, and it just became a place after a while where people just come and be social, which is awesome. Like we want to be social and have fun here. We could talk about things that don't have to do with fitness inside of the group or any of the deep health stuff, but we're coming in with a purpose, and that's how we're going to run this thing, right? So that's the big, broad brushstroke approach to this. But we're going to get into the weeds with you with different calls. Chris and I decided we're going to do 3 to 4 calls a month, depending on A, demand, and B, what we've got going on. Easily accessible. We're going to have different courses that we're outlining inside of the group via different channels. So think of them as like subcategories. So if like Beyond Coaching is the main category, then we're going to have different channels in there: fitness, nutrition, mental health, emotional health, social health, existential health, mindset, things like that. We're going to lean into different, we're going to bring in different guests. We're going to have different guest speakers on webinars every so often as well. So you don't just have to learn from us, right? Like one of the things that we didn't do enough of before, and I'll be truthfully honest, honestly, and I will be honest and truthful, words are hard, is to bring in experts in different areas that matter. And we want you to learn from them as well, because they have more information that will apply to your journey than we can give you, because they are so niche that they're going to be able to help you with something very specific and move you in a positive direction. Did I miss anything? What else are we doing in the group?
No. We will also be doing challenges, which we're going to dive into probably in a different episode, but that'll be another piece as far as like the gamification and keeping people engaged. But we don't want that to be the focus of our group. We don't want you to come here thinking that it's just a challenge group. That is something that we talked about that we don't want to be. We want to use challenges because we know that they can be effective and they can give people the short-term motivation. Our goal is to help you figure out the long-term consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last 2 things that, we'll talk about more in depth on the next episode are going to be the fitness and nutrition aspect, because those are, like Chris said, the lowest hanging fruit, the most easily applicable into your day-to-day. And we're going to do that through our cross-building methodology and a macro-free tracker, right? Fuck macro tracking. I mean, it serves its purpose, but you don't need to do it. So Chris and I created an actual calculator to help you reach your fitness goals without the stress of playing macro Tetris every single day. And we're going to launch that in the coming months. So if you're in the group, you'll have access to a version of that, but it will be totally customizable as well. So like there's a lot of great things happening inside of this group so you can reach your goals. And the best part about this is like the group is $30 a month. Like I'm not going to shy away from saying it. It's $30 a month. And if it's something that you can invest into yourself to actually see the progress that you want to see, we want you to be there. And if you don't want to be there, that's cool. Like just listen to this podcast and follow along and listen to our guests talk and us bullshit sometimes. But the group is there for you to see progress happen and make more time for the shit that matters in your life. And the way we want to do that is through our customer promise. And our customer promise, it's rad. I really like that. Like rad is such a word that's used so much more now, but we added an H to it. So it's RHAD for relationships, health, accountability, and delivery. So when I say relationships in our customer promise to you, Chris, what does that mean? Why relationships? And why is that first?
I think it's about, to us, being there for one another, having a safe place to come, but building relationships of, you might go to a city and link up with somebody from the group. You might want to have an event with 20 or 30 people from the group in your city. It's also having people that maybe aren't in your in-person community, which is a huge part of why we know this online stuff can be so beneficial. And knowing that you have a place to go, you have people to go to, whether it's one person in the group that you rock with, 50, 100, 1,000, depending upon how big the group gets, or maybe it's just one of us, right? Because one of the things we want to be able to do is, we know this isn't going to be one-on-one or even feel necessarily small group, but we're going to give you guys, everybody out there, we're going to give them the opportunity to reach out to us through office hours, be interactive with us on our calls, and give you a place to just come and know that you're not alone. And that's really, to me, the biggest thing about the relationships that I think stands out, and hopefully will stand out to the people who come and join us and develop those relationships with us.
Yeah, and for me, relationships, it means that it goes both ways, right? Like our friendship goes both ways, our business relationship goes both ways. Like if I don't hold up my end of the bargain, or you don't hold up your end of the bargain, someone suffers or gets angry or doesn't, like miscommunication. Same thing with my relationship at home with Lacey. Like if I'm not all in at one point, like she feels it, and if she's not all in, I feel it. So relationships goes both ways. So this isn't the Kevin show, this isn't the Chris show, this is the Beyond Coaching community, and like relationships is number one, because that could be one to many or one to one. So if you find your ride or die and you form a new friend, amazing. If you just want to be part of something special and be there, like we're all going to be there together. When we look at health, the deep health equation is something Chris and I have been leaning into so much more as of recently, and the overall wellness factor, right? Like, I don't know if I consider myself a nutrition coach or a fitness coach, or it's more of like wellness coaching. And it's not life coaching either, because I think I won't even get into it. I think like wellness is really like who it is that we are and how we feel and what we're doing to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. And we do that through physical health, mental health, emotional health, social health, and existential health. Any of those like resonate with you over the other, or are they kind of equal?
Well, I think, to go back to what you just said for a moment, is Kevin said he doesn't know if he's a fitness coach or a nutrition coach or maybe a wellness coach. I think we're just coaches. And I say that because we're educating people on things that they may not already know, or we're educating them on ways to integrate what they might know but don't know how to put it into their lifestyle. And we don't coin ourselves as lifestyle coaches. I have been tending to call myself a wellness coach. The reason that I say just coach is fitness and nutrition have just been the vehicles we knew best how to get people to where they want to go, right? And to me, when we move into deep health, shout out to Precision Nutrition, it's taking fitness and nutrition as parts of a bigger whole, right? Those are tools. And like Kevin mentioned, there's 6 different components of what makes up deep health. To me, I know an area that I needed improvement, or 2 areas really, I think that I've not really overly considered for myself that I've been doing more work on, are my emotional health and my existential health. And existential health doesn't mean that you need to have a deep-rooted belief in a religion or anything overly specific. It's also, what do you believe in totality? What is like your moral compass to me? What is your belief in yourself? What is your belief in others? Woo-woo statement. What is your belief in humanity, right? Like all of those things, what are your beliefs matter? Because again, and it's not like a political thing or any of those things. Like I have a ton of people I'm friends with that have completely conflicting political views. I don't think those things matter as much if you have the belief in yourself and that other person above those other beliefs, and we have the respect for one another, that we can have a relationship right? And make that a safe space that we can communicate, because Kevin just hit the nail on the head when he brought that up. Like, communication is the breakdown and the failure of most people in any situation, whether it's business, in your relationship, in life, in school, if you're a player to coach. Communication is typically the problem. And it could be, it usually is both ways. It's on both sides. Like Kevin said, it's a two-way street. So you might not be interpreting the information the way that someone intended. You may not be communicating the information the way that you intended. And there's all these different ways. So anyone who's maybe taken like a sociology class or a communication class, like, you start to understand these different socioeconomic things. You start to understand these different perspectives someone has, and like how their upbringing changes their perspective, what their past experiences were, their past relationships, the other coaching companies they've worked with, the coaches they've had. All of those experiences shape who you are and how you feel. It doesn't mean that that needs to be your future, but that is certainly your past and probably dictating some of your present. But using that, understanding my beliefs, is going to help me also dig into my emotional health. Because if I have negative beliefs about myself, I probably don't have the best emotional regulation, right? And that could be a broad thing in its own. There's a lot of things that go into emotions, emotional regulation. But yeah, I think those two areas out of the 6 have been the things that I've neglected the most. And it's really changed the way that I work with my clients. It's really changed the way that I am as a coach, and even the way that I try to interact with people. I try to challenge people's perspective because I want them to understand. And sometimes that fails, right? So that's still a failure on my part if they don't understand and I didn't do a good enough job helping them understand. And, I've dealt with some of those situations in our past company, right? And it happens. And all I can do is learn, grow, and be better from that. And that's ultimately what I want to do by building this. And that's what we want to do in this group, right? It is ultimately our lifestyle that makes up these different dimensions of deep health. And yeah, I that's where I stand on those. So emotional and existential for 500.
Yeah. There we go. Trebek. The, the do it anyway, work harder, grind mode doesn't always work. And that's what we've seen for a very long time. And it's like, you don't have to be fucking David Goggins to be successful. Like that, that's not the norm. If you want to and you can, great. But if you do that and then just use that millennial mask or that mask in general to say like, oh, I'm going to do it anyway because David Goggins said to, or whoever else is preaching that, and you're not seeing progress in all the areas of your life. Are you really seeing progress at all? I don't think
Absolutely.
so. And that's why, for me, the way I kind of like look at it from a bird's eye view is that like everything starts with a feeling, and that links to our emotions. Right. So that feeling can either make or break our thought process. So if we can lean into like asking questions and self-communication with, how we feel in that moment and why we feel that way, that could lead to a positive thought, which turns into mental health and the ability to think through our feelings, which then leads to action and what we can do physically, socially, right? And if we do that long enough, we start to believe and see this momentum happen, this like earned confidence in how we're going about life to help mold our existential health. And that's why I love the deep health methodology, because, or the deep health equation. It's because it's all linked together. And we can't just lean into one area and think we're going to be successful.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think even like we said this in our last episode, I believe we mentioned it here, like our focus in the beginning of this community is going to be about fitness. But what we're going to do throughout this community as we grow it, as time goes on, is implement these different areas of deep health, these different dimensions, right? So something as simple as fitness, if you don't have a belief in yourself, maybe that's the reason why you're not successful with your fitness. Maybe you don't believe you can be successful. Maybe you think other people are judging you at the gym. That's environmental. Maybe you don't have a support system. That's relationship. Maybe you don't have anyone, in general. Maybe you don't feel comfortable. You think everyone's judging you. Whatever the situation is, we can take fitness and we can apply it to each one of those dimensions. And that's why this stuff is so important to start to understand, because there's much more to life than just fitness. And that's something we're going to try to show you, because our goal is through our programming and the workouts that Kevin mentioned, and we're going to dive deeper in another episode on that, is to help you buy back time. Right? Our time is an investment. That is our greatest currency. Plenty of people have said that. Hopefully enough of you understand that. And none of it is guaranteed. So yeah, we need to do the best we can, right? I kind of go back to like the 4 agreements on that. Always do your best, be impeccable with your word. Um, don't make assumptions. Blanking on the 4th one at the moment. Always do your best.
I don't
What is the
remember
other
it.
one?
I read that book. I got
Dang.
it's time to reread it. We'll have to fact check it.
I'll
Come
throw it back in. But it's a great book.
Yeah.
And I try to come back to those 4 principles, though, as much as I can, because when I'm not reminding myself of those principles, I often find that if I look down my my pathway of the deep health and the different dimensions of it, I'm fading because I'm not doing my best in certain things. I'm probably fading because I'm making assumptions about things. And maybe I'm saying to myself, I'm doing something that I'm really not, right? And I think that's what's important for us to start to really understand and dive deeper on, because a lot of us don't want to confront that stuff.
Don't take anything personally.
You're good.
There,
A lot of us don't want to
that's
confront
the
those
last,
things, though.
That's the last one. Don't take anything personally.
Oh, yes. Don't take things personally. That's something
Yeah.
I struggle with quite often, for sure.
Amazing. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's a great, reference to live by through and through. But I want to touch on the last 2 parts of RAD. So we went over relationships, health, and then the last 2 are accountability and delivery, and they go hand in hand. I think with accountability, there is a higher likelihood of delivery, and I'll start with accountability because it piggybacks off of what we just said about communication and how we use those relationships. But self accountability is having integrity to do the shit that you say you want to do, especially when no one's watching. And it's a 2-way street, right? So we can give you all the information and you can tell us one thing, but if you're not actually doing it the way you say you're doing it, or we're not communicating about it properly, or we're not following up, or you're not attending the calls, or we're not having those conversations, the likelihood of results is going to be slim to none, or it's not going to be optimal. So we want to see you have optimal results physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, existentially, through the process of what it is that we're bringing to you every single day. And delivery, right? If like we do this and you don't see results in your life, then what is the fucking point? Right? We want to deliver you results. Yes, we will start with physical results and becoming your fittest self in 100 days. Like that's what we're going to talk about in our next episode. And that is something that I truly believe is going to happen with however many people decide to start the fucking program. I've done it personally. Chris has done it personally. Like we know that this works. But the idea is you have to show up and do the work every single day. So when we lean into the accountability side, that's a 2-way street. We're going to give you all that we have, and you got to show up. You got to put in the work. And when it comes to delivery, it's a continuation of the conversation and actually making amendments to your actions along the way so we can see results not just in the first 100 days, but then where do we go after that? And how do you become a leader in the community? And to Chris's point earlier, you don't need to work with us forever. The goal is not to do that. Like, can we level up time and time again, set different goals? Absolutely. But I want you to make more time for the shit that matters in your life so you can actually enjoy the ride and look back and celebrate the work that you've actually done. And that's why we're, that's our customer promise to you.
Absolutely. And right, we're accountable to you all about making sure that we are delivering, right, and bringing that value. So it's like Kevin said, that's a 2-way street. And I want to challenge everyone's perspective who might be listening to this. Delivery, like Kevin just said, is yes, for you, but what you bring to the table for you is going to also be what you deliver to everybody else in your life. And that's the other thing we want to help everybody do. Because if you have more time because you figured out how to work out less or more efficiently, if you have more time or more energy because you're sleeping better and so on and so forth, you're going to be able to deliver in your job. You're going to be able to deliver to your wife or your partner or your husband, whoever. You're going to be able to deliver to your partner. You're going to be able to deliver to your kids, right? And that's why we believe so strongly in RAD, in these 4 values, right? We want to help this whole continuum. We want to help people change their life and their lifestyle for the better. And it's not because we have some dream scenario for you. We want to help you figure out what your ideal lifestyle is and get as close to that as possible through taking these small actions, practicing them, turning those into skills, and ultimately accomplishing what those goals are. And this first 100 days, like Kevin said, is the starting point.
Hell yeah. I mean, you couldn't have said it better myself. You got to start somewhere. And the best day to start was yesterday, but if not, you might as well start today. Was the saying, the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, but the second best time is right now.
Yep.
It's true. Like we gotta start, and we gotta, take that first step. And we want to be there with you when you choose to do it with us, because we're excited about this community and everything that's going to offer. And we're more excited about the results that you're going to see in the first 3 months of the program. So with that in mind, we're going to go live inside the Beyond Coaching community on November 18th, 2024. If you are listening to this after that date, we are up and running and having a fucking great time in there. So you better hurry on up and jump in, because you can start at any time. And we look forward to seeing you as being part of the progress. So make sure you follow us on Instagram at join beyond coaching _. Mine is at Cavan TV. That's at CAVAN TV _. And it's not television. It's my middle and last name. If you can figure it out, shoot me a DM. And then if you get it right on the first try, then maybe I'll give you a prize. And you can follow Chris at Chris _Olson _fitness. I'm going to mess this up, but I think it's at CHRIS _OLSEN _fitness FITNESS. But yeah, thanks for listening in. We're going to chat next time about 100 days to a fitter you, exactly how we're going to do that, actually how you're going to do that once you join Beyond Coaching. So you got anything else before we head out?
Just so everyone knows, I am not related to the Olsen twins. And I am also not synonymous or a representative of the infamous TikTok influencer, the other Chris Olsen, I like to call him.
The other Chris Olsen. Follow this.
If you
Chris
haven't
Olsen.
seen it, you'll check him out and you'll see why. Shout out to the other Chris Olsen. It sounds like you're doing fantastic on your social media.
I don't follow him, so not that good. Just kidding. All right. We'll catch you guys later. See ya.